of yourself after such a performance?
Yeah, definitely the last week, the last 7 days, the game against Colorado for the team and Galaxy were obviously really good. And I think in MLS especially, it's a league with a lot of parity where, some teams can do really good. You can go on really bad runs of form. So when you do want to, get two big wins in a row, you want to take that confidence momentum and take it as long as you can and as far as you can. So that's obviously what we're planning on doing. It's going to be a tough next 4 or 5 days, two away games against two good teams. But yeah, you're right. You have to, look at what you did well in the game, try to continue it, but you can't get too caught up in what you did a couple days ago. You got to focus on the next one.
Next, we go to Dan.
Hey Cam, it's good to see you. Just out of curiosity, did you ever see the highlights from the first time the Red Bulls had that 7-0 scoreline back in 2016 with Bradley Wright Phillips, Dax McCarty?
Yeah, I remember watching it a couple years ago. So it's cool. I saw a stat that we actually tied that game and our game on Wednesday for the two biggest wins in Red Bull history. So to do it away from home at your rivals and to do it at home against another MLS team who I kind of consider our rivals after what happened in the playoffs last year in the final. So yeah, two big victories and we'll take it.
Next, we go to Anthony.
Hey Cam, I was there in LA in December, and I remember interviewing you post game. There were a lot of emotions there in that moment, obviously, and here you are now, so many months later, in such a dominant win over the Galaxy. Were there any cathartic emotions for you because you beat the Galaxy that big, or was this just another game?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think after that game in December, everyone knew how we felt, and obviously, the Galaxy had went over us after that game, which was obviously upsetting, especially kind of having ties myself to the Galaxy when I was younger, and that being a little bit more of an emotional game than usual. But for them to come to our stadium and for us to put on them and make them feel the pressure of all 90 minutes was it definitely felt good, especially being against the Galaxy because when a team wins such a big game against you, obviously we can't get that last one back, but what we can do is like what we did last week, make sure that when you play them next time, you give them a little piece back.
We'll go back to Mark.
Cam, you mentioned earlier, you now are facing two strong clubs on the road. Team hasn't been able to win away in the league this year. Talk to us a little bit about the challenges of playing on the road and getting those 3 points away from home.
Yeah, I think especially with some new guys in the team, MLS is a league where when you go away from home, I guess you sometimes need to have a different mindset that it is going to be a tougher game and things aren't always going to go your way. I've seen our record at home compared to away from home, and I think for the most part when we've played at home this year, we've had things. We've been able to dictate the games and we've been able to dictate the tempo, especially when you have that crowd behind you. So it is a little bit easier. And I think when you go away from home, you have to be a little more smart and a little bit more kind of cute with how you perform. You need to sometimes not take your time with things. I remember seeing against Orlando. I think we were getting, they were putting the pressure on us the first 20 minutes, and we kind of kept feeding into them and kept losing the ball. So I think we just have to be a little bit smarter when you go away from home, and you need to, play your cards right.
Everyone, we have time for two more questions. Cam, first go to Dan, then we'll finish up with Anthony. Dan, you have the floor.
Cam, obviously the last time you faced Nashville was the home opener at Sports Illustrated Stadium. Had a pretty good victory there, 2-0. But what changes have you seen from Nashville that you're in for a big one down there in Tennessee?
Yeah, I think when we played them at the start of the season, I know their new coach had only been in charge for a few games, and I know that I've looked at their home record and it's pretty impressive. Especially, I think when teams at the start of the season don't do well, especially you've seen it with New England as well, they can kind of make some tweaks and when things can come together at the right time. So obviously we're playing them in a time where they're doing really well. They're in a good patch of form. So we know kind of what we're getting into. They have, I think in this year compared to years past, they're a bit more fluid in their movement, and I think they're got more of a nicer play style this year. So it is going to be a tough game. They've got some dangerous wingers. Surge is catching form too. They have Mukhtar, who's always going to be a good player. So they got a solid foundation with some good players up top, and I think we're aware of what's coming.
And we'll finish up with Anthony.
And Cam, so you're in the midst of an intense run fixture-wise. I've asked this to a few different players. How are you making sure that you're fresh both mentally and physically? How are you keeping up with the intensity of what the MLS schedule brings to you, especially this time of year?
Yeah, obviously, most years the month of May is obviously pretty tough. I remember in 2023 we played about 10 games in May, and that was a bit of a shock to my system. So thankfully, years past has kind of prepared me a little bit better in terms of that. It really does become a 24/7 job, especially in these hard months when you play 3 games a week. Especially with all the travel and stuff, you need to really maximize your recovery. You need to make sure you're eating the right foods, all of that stuff. And then I think what's good is, when you need rotation in teams, sometimes guys come in, especially when you need to be fresh. Like, I think, sorry, when you have a squad of 20 guys who can all perform, especially in this month, it's going to set us up really well with, the way Victor came on last game, the way Dennis came on last game, myself, all the subs made a difference. And I think that makes the coach have to make a few decisions where he can feel comfortable in bringing guys in, guys out, especially when we are in, like you said, a tough run of games.